offer by using discount code CHICAGO.
At Fisher Investments, we do things differently, and other money managers don't understand why.
Because our way works great for us.
But it may not work for your clients. That's why Fisher Investments is a fiduciary obligated to put clients first. It's the highest standard for a financial advisor.
So, what do you provide? Cookie-cutter portfolios like the rest of us?
No cookie-cutter portfolios here. Fisher Investments tailors portfolios to meet each client's goals and needs.
But you do sell investments that earn you high commissions, right? And make commissions when you make trades for your clients?
No, Fisher Investments doesn't sell any commission investment products, and we never earn commissions on trades.
So what's in it for you?
Fisher Investments fees are structured so we do better when our clients do better. When it comes to helping clients achieve a comfortable retirement, we're clearly different. Visit FisherInvestments.com to find out why investors like you switch to us. Fisher Investments, clearly different money management.
Investments in securities involve the risk of loss.
8:07 in our Team Hochberg Traffic Center. Here is Jim Talamonte.
Well, traffic's a little heavier now on the inbound Stevenson and the inbound Ryan. Stevenson delays still start around Cicero, but it's 37 minutes, 3:55 to Lakeshore Drive, outbound 28. There's also a delay farther south on southbound I-55, Veterans Parkway to Weber Road, where there's been some construction. Inbound Ryan delays start at 35th, 25 minutes, 95th to downtown, outbound 14. I-57 still a little heavy around Sibley after an earlier crash. Kennedy, 22 minutes, O'Hare to downtown, outbound 21. Eisenhower, 30 minutes, 390 to downtown, outbound it's 28. Bishop Ford inbound has a 2-minute delay between 103rd and the merge. And that's traffic. I'm Jim Talamonte on AM 560 The Answer.
Thank you, Jim. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next in our 1-hour heating and air conditioning weather center. Not as warm today. We'll have some periods of sunshine breaking through. There is an afternoon shower in spots, high 78 in your forecast. Partly cloudy and 60 overnight. 65 officially at O'Hare. Your next news update is at 8:30. And Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
Listen to AM 560, The Answer, online at 560theanswer.com, on the AM 560 mobile app, on your Alexa-powered smart speaker, on TuneIn, iHeart, and radio.com. This is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560, The Answer.
Good morning, Dan and Amy. Year zero in America. And in New America, only beautiful lies are acceptable. At least the beautiful lies that the Jacobins insist you tell.
Did you say the Jacobsons? Or
No.
the
Yes. Inside,
That's inside baseball.
Inside joke.
I still.
It says something about the intellectual
Our
quotient of your friend circle.
Hey.
Well,
Well,
doesn't it?
no, we lived in the same condo building.
Oh,
saying.
well, okay. Well,
It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Whatever. They're very supportive, and I love them.
yes.
Very.
Tell them to try to pick up a book from time to time.
Hey, okay.
Hey, you started it.
No, you brought it up. No,
Well,
I guess no.
You told me, and
it's
then
because of my name.
and then how can I not comment on that? It's just Jacobson and Jacobin. Good grief. MIT.
Yes.
The Archdiocese of Boston forced Daniel Maloney to resign from his chaplain role at MIT after students and alumni complained that Maloney brought up George Floyd's past criminal history in an email to students. The argument that Father Maloney was making is that Floyd's past should not justify his death, but you can't invoke uncomfortable truths even if you're making an argument with which there is general agreement. George Floyd, this is what he wrote in a June 7th email to the Tech Catholic community, group of Catholic students on campus. George Floyd was killed by a police officer and shouldn't have been.
Okay.
He had not lived a virtuous life. He was convicted of several crimes, including armed robbery, which he seemed to have committed to feed his drug habit. And he was high on drugs at the time of his arrest.
Yeah,
but we
meth
do,
and fentanyl.
but we do not kill such people. He committed sins, but we root for sinners to change their lives and convert to the gospel.
He got in trouble for that email?
He didn't get in trouble. He got removed as chaplain at MIT.
Why?
Beautiful lies are the only discourse that is acceptable. You must repeat the beautiful lies. You must dispense with the uncomfortable truths as so determined by the mob, or you get removed. And as Carol Markowitz writes in the New York Post, and as I've said, I don't know, for a decade or so since this started incubating on college campuses, think it won't come for you. Right. All other Americans, including those with small or non-existent public profiles, are vulnerable. It's chilling development. It's actually more difficult to cancel the high profile, the Tom Cottons of the world. So you know who you can pick on? And what is a mob? It's a bully. Who do you pick on? Those that can't resist. No, those that can't resist, those that have no profile, those who you can steamroll over. And that's you listening. The antidote to that is to stand up for yourself. Tom Cotton on the Senate floor yesterday.
Lincoln also warned that the lawless in spirit will become lawless in practice because of mob violence, seeing no consequences for crimes. The mob doesn't stop at statues. Rioters have already torched police precincts in low-income housing in Minneapolis. Churches and synagogues have been vandalized. Next, perhaps the mob will target the homes of police officers, and soon enough, the mob may come for you and your home and your family. As the mob expands its power, Lincoln cautioned that good citizens, seeing their property destroyed, their families insulted, their lives endangered, their persons injured, and seeing nothing in prospect that forebodes a change for the better, become tired of and disgusted with a government that offers them no protection. Mob rule can only serve to demoralize our people and shake their faith in our government and our way of life. As the mob rises, civilization recedes.
As the mob rises, civilization recedes. What's that you're feeling? The rescission of civilization? Yeah, then you're feeling it right. For more on this, we're pleased to be joined by Francis Menton. He is the Manhattan Contrarian. Francis, thanks for joining us again. Appreciate it.
Good morning. Great to be here.
Good morning to you. And one of the ways the mob can affect its enforcement of the beautiful lies you must recite is because it turns out they have allies who can enforce their diktats writ large. And I'm talking about the big tech social media companies, whether it's manipulating Google searches or censoring cognitive dissonance on Facebook and Twitter and the like. This is an important ally for the mob, isn't it?
Extremely important ally for the mob, and very self-righteous in their proclamations to others. Not so good a record when you actually look at their own records on these issues.
Well, precisely, and this is why there is such a push, in part why there's such a push for, antitrust action against Google and perhaps the other big tech companies as well. The fact that, as Bill Barr outlined in his interview over the weekend with Maria Bartiromo, you have a real problem with the way they operate. There's been a bit of a bait and switch, he argues. I want you to listen to what Bill Barr had to say and get your reaction.
There's something, very disturbing about what's going on. To some extent, there was a bait and switch over the past couple of decades. These companies held themselves out as open to all comers. That's how they built up all their membership and their networks, saying, we have a wide variety of views. People can come in and post their views and their positions and their statements. And that's what led to people to join it and then get the strong market position they have. Then they've switched. Now they're being more selective, and they're starting to censor different viewpoints. But you have this concentration of these very large companies that had that kind of influence on the sharing of information and viewpoints in our society. And that is a fundamental problem because, you know, our republic was founded on the idea, and the whole rationale was that there'd be a lot of diversity of voices, and it would be hard for someone to be able to galvanize, you know, a big faction in the United States that could dominate politically and oppress a minority. And yet now we have, with the internet and with these big concentrations of power, the ability to do just that, to quickly galvanize people's views because they're only presenting one viewpoint, and they can push the public in a particular direction very quickly. And our whole Constitution and system was based on not having that and having a wide diversity of voices. So one way this can be addressed is through the antitrust laws and challenging companies that engage in monopolistic practices.
What do you think, Francis? Is that the right way to go, what Bill Barr is intimating?
You might be surprised by my reaction, but I am not particularly a fan of antitrust action on these issues. I mean, the first reason is that it takes a huge amount of time. So if they started some kind of investigation now, it would still be going years from now, and I don't know if it would result in any kind of action that would make any progress on these issues for a long time. To give you an example, the most dominant company in the United States back in the late 1960s was IBM with its mainframe computers. They started an investigation of them during the Lyndon Johnson administration in the mid-60s. After 7 years of investigation, that case went to trial in 1975. The trial was still going on in 1981 when the Reagan administration came in and essentially gave up. And meanwhile, the market had totally turned on IBM, and they weren't a dominant company anymore, and mainframe computers were nowhere.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, Microsoft, it took years, Microsoft as well. And the issue is, but talk about this in principle. I mean, I'm generally in agreement with you on that and opposed to antitrust prosecutions generally. I just don't believe that monopolies exist except with government sanctions. So that's not my chosen course of action either. Eliminating their their liability coverage under Section 230, that's one way to go. But other ways to deal with what Bill Barr is describing, if you think he's got the diagnosis correct.
I think he does have the diagnosis correct. I think it's quite a frightening thing that's going on. On the other hand, every time in my life some company seemed to be so dominant that it was taking over the economy, it had been tremendously weakened and beaten back by market forces within 10 or 15 years. And to go back to the early part of my life, the bugaboos, the boogeymen were the railroads. I mean, where are they today?
Do you see this? Do you see this? But do you see this?
How about Walmart?
But do you see this as qualitatively different because you're talking about the communication channels? Does that make a difference? Is it qualitatively different than one transportation mode or one computer company, hardware company?
You know, I can't say no to that. I don't know that it's not different. It could be different, and they could be dominant for decades or centuries, but that certainly isn't the way it's worked. I mean, look at Walmart. Walmart was thought to be so tremendously dominant it was taking over the country 10, 15 years ago. It's not that long ago, and Amazon has totally knocked them off their perch and set them way back. So is somebody going to knock off Amazon and knock off Google? I think they will, but I don't know it. And I am very concerned by what the games Google and Facebook, mainly them, to some degree Apple, the games that they're playing nowadays to slant the communications landscape is extremely concerning. But I personally believe that the marketplace will knock them back within about 10 years. And 10 years might seem like a long time.
Well, I mean, I might seem like a short time since we're in year zero in New America,
Right.
but we'll see how the next decade plays out as coming out of the pandemic. What are we going to see? Who gains power coming out of the pandemic? Government does, and big tech does, and that corporate set. And so the corporate set and the political class are more powerful than they were prior to the pandemic. That's bad news for, individual Joe Sixpack and Sally Housecoat, isn't it?
Tremendously bad news, right? The coastal elites are consolidating their power. You might think I'm one of those, but you're not. You're in Chicago.
That's right. I'm a Midwest elite. Yes.
But the coastal elites are consolidating their power. Again, powers have risen and fallen remarkably in the United States, but a lot of that is due to capitalism, or what I refer to as a freedom-based economy, where the new business can rise up and set back the old businesses at any time. And I'm 100% sure that will happen again, whether Google and Facebook are the next ones on the chopping block is what I'm not sure about.
Well, right now, don't you think the power's with the people? I mean, you've got all these autonomous zones popping up and this cancel culture. And if, you're silent, you're promoting violence and this whole, I don't see this ending anytime soon.
Well, Amy, you said the power is with the people. I'm looking at those people, the Black Lives Matter, the protesters, the looters as being 2% of the population right now. They've done a remarkable job in silencing or quieting their opposition, at least for the moment. But I wouldn't regard them as the people. I mean, the people are the people who elected Donald Trump, I would say. That's right.
Yeah.
They got together enough electoral votes to elect a president who was totally in opposition to all of this.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see if that can stand because, what's the Alinsky tactic, right? What's from the rules for radicals, make the majority feel like their opinions are that of the minority because it gets them on their heels. It gets them to shut up and you can run roughshod over the majority. And that seems to be what's happening, not just in Seattle, but culturally across the country.
Right, and they've got some good issues. I mean, it is when somebody shouts Black Lives Matter, not a lot of people have the counter argument at the ready.
Well, you can say all lives matter, but you can't say that because that's considered
right. They've done their very best to shout that one down. I have a better one than all lives matter, which is all Black Lives Matter. I haven't heard many people using that as a rejoinder, although I think I've seen it one place or another. But I think all Black Lives Matter is a very good rejoinder, right? We have George Floyd, which is horrific enough, but on the other side, we have 7,500 a year black men killed by other black men, which I just find it sickening.
In Chicago, we had 102 people shot. 104 people shot over Father's Day weekend. 15
this weekend.
Yeah, this weekend alone, and five of them who died were kids. We had a 3-year-old, a 6th grader, a freshman at Lincoln Park High School, and then a 16-year-old and a 17-year-old. And they're all African American.
Well, you say all. I haven't seen a racial breakdown of that, and maybe it's not available at this point. I don't think I would doubt
from
that
this
all
weekend.
102. Oh well, maybe all the deaths were, but even if the deaths are not all African American, they're so predominantly African American, and it's so sad for the black community. You would think it would be a huge issue for them, and somehow it is not. I don't understand it. It's so sad.
He is Francis Menton, the Manhattan Contrarian. The website, again, manhattancontrarian.com. Yes, Francis? ManhattanContrarian.com. Yep.
You got it.
All right.
ManhattanContrarian.com. Everyone should read it.
There you go. Francis Menton, thanks so much for joining us. Appreciate it.
Thanks so much for having me.
And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
It's news, opinion, insight. This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
Presenting a good appearance is everything, a direct reflection of your business. But now you also need to ensure your employees and customers that you're providing a safe environment in which to work and do business. To keep and stay clean, team up with High PSI, Chicago's